Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today lecture is about module number 4. This lecture is mostly depending on the about the security of operating system. We have we have some of the courses about the security of databases, some security of networks, but this is particularly depending on the security of operating system. As we know that we have a various kind of operating system we are using nowadays. Most popular is the most of the students are using the various kind of operating system like Windows, Mac, Linux, Unix, Fedora. There are a lot of operating system or there in the market. The most user friendly is considered to be the Windows and then Mac, and the least user friendly is considered to be the Linux and Unix and Fedora. But the most important thing is the Linux and Unix is that it's more secure with respect to the operating system security level, while the rest Mac and Windows is considered to be the least secure. Okay, since the Windows is a proprietary base, means we need to buy the license for it, and it is under the ownership of Bill Gates, Microsoft. Okay, so we will be discussing the operating system first, okay, and then the security of the operating system. First, we see what we need to cover in the module number 4. We need to cover the overview of the protection feature provided by the general purpose operating system. Then we need to talk about the protecting memory. That what is the role of the memory in operating system, and how memory is managed by the operating system. Second is protecting the objects. There are various kind of objects in operating system, like we have the users, we have the groups, we have the firewalls, we have different various kind of objects which are closely related to the operating system, like memory. So these concepts we will be discussed over there. Then we will go for the file protection mechanism, such like how the file protection mechanism is done with respect to the read, write, and RBAC, role-based access control, and all these kind of things will be discussed under the file operating system, a file protection mechanism. Okay, and then the user authentication, that which user should be given the privileges, like for example, who can be the guest user, who can be the admin user, who can be the power user, the backup user. So authentication is based on the basis of their role and their functionality. Now here you can see the function of the operating system, that how the operating system works. Usually the operating system is an interface between a user and the hardware. Okay, how the user can interact with the hardware. So it performs a various functionality like synchronization between various processes, the concurrency among the different processes, and how to control the deadlocks in a different mechanism, and deadlock management in journal, and then communication between one computer to another computer, and accounting of the different factors in the operating systems. It can be accounting softwares, and it can be also some accounting of the different processes. Yeah. So here on the top level, if you see, user is staying over here. Okay, here is the user interface of the operating system for the people. Here is the core operating system. These are the services it can provide to the users. Okay. Here we can see how the operating system play with the different resources, whether it can be data, whether it are program libraries, DLL files, whether it is a CPU, central process unit, whether it's the memory. Here memory we mean the RAM, random access memory. Here in the IO devices means that like keyboard, mouse, printers, okay, USB, HDMI. These are the input output devices, that how the operating system is going to control all the input output devices, and here are the services. Okay, so usually the most important thing in the operating system to control the CPU is the kernel. Kernel is an agent, is a program which controls your CPU, the lower level of a hardware. Now we come to the operating system goals and function. What are the different goals of operating system? Okay, the two main goal, if you can see over here, is controlling shared access. That how we can control the shared access among the different processes or among the different programs. That if two programs are open here, how the operating system gonna give them allocation time. And the second thing is the implementing an interface to allow the access. That how a user can access the different hardware resources and different software programs parallelly or sequentially, just like in a case of printer sequentially, and in the case of different softwares parallelly or concurrently. And second is supporting activities under the goals. What are the different supporting activities by the operating system which can be done? Is identification, that how the identifications of a different user and different programs can be done and how it can be authenticated for different users. Naming of the different files and folders, filing objects, that how objects can be named and filed, scheduling of different processes, and the communication among the processes, that how the two processes can communicate with each other through using the port numbers, and reclaiming and reusing objects, that how objects can be revoked and reused and reclaimed. Now we come to the functions. Okay, well, the functions are access control. We have the access control over here, identity and credential management over here, like who can be given the control access to the different resources and different services. Credential management, that which how the user can be authenticated, that how the operating system know that who is who. Information flow, that how the information flows from one layer of the operating system to another layer, or from user to the hardware, or from the hardware to the user level. And last what we have is the audit and integrity protection, that how the audit can be performed. Okay, or like for example, who has done different function in a day. Okay, so it has some log files. So log files, it keeps the record of all the activities done in a during the different sessions in operating system. Okay, so the operating system duty is also to keep the logs of the different activities performed in a day, whether it is done by the hardware or software or by the users. And the integrity protection, that one program should not disturb another program. These are the function of the operating system. Okay, so before going to the security, we must know what are the different goals and function of operating system. The last two paragraph is just the more elaboration, like operating system range from simple one supporting to a single task. Before it was a single task per minute or per time, but now we have a multitasking and multi-user and functionality as well. So naturally, security consideration increases as the operating system becomes more complex. So the more complex operating system we have, the more security arises. As you know that we have a new mobile iOS operating system, so we have a new security issues with that one, which has been dealt with the passage of time. Security methods in operating system. What are the different security methods in operating system where we have? There is the basic protection mechanism in operating system is the separation, that you keep the different processes separate from each other. Okay, so the separation of the different processes is with respect to sharing the object. If you want to share the object, the separation is important for the security purposes. So we keep one user object separate from either of other user. For example, there is a user A and there is a user B. So user A files and folders are separately kept, while the user B's files and folders are separately kept into different active directories. Okay. So physical separation means different physical resources, different hard drive, different USB or different drives. Okay, C drive, D drives, and E drives. Okay, easy but expensive and inefficient. If you make a different physical resources, so it becomes difficult. Now we have a cloud. Cloud is a single resource for the different resources all around the world. People having just like a Dropbox we have, and WhatsApp, and all these are the same physical resources, but with the separate data. Next, we have a temporal separation. Temporal separation means execute programs at different timings. So the temporal separation is depending on the timing, when the program is being run. Logical separation, it is about like user think that no other process exists. Okay, so it means there are some processes going parallelly, but one process is unknown about one process is unaware about the another process. The next technique for the security is separation technique is a cryptographic separation. In cryptographic, processes and data are concealed to outsider, or means complex. Here, the parallel processes are going parallelly, and they know each other that there is a process, but they don't know each other. Why? Because of their cryptographic encryption. They are concealed, they are hidden, or in any other combination of that one. Okay. Next one is operating system should allow flexible sharing of resources. Yes, because the any window on any operating system which is considered to be flexible sharing of the resources is more like easy access of the files and easy access of the database resources. As like in the Windows, we see it's very easy to share the files and to process the files, and it's very easy in the Microsoft SQL Server to access the database. While it might be seems difficult to use the Linux and Unix and Fedora and even the Mac, and using the Oracle is maybe seems difficulty with respect to the naive user. Then we have a memory and address protection. Okay, what do you mean by a memory and address protection? Since when the data is taken from the hard drive to the memory, means the RAM, it is stored in the form of pages. Okay, sometimes the pages overflows, sometimes the data is higher, so it overflows to the from the protected page to the unprotected page. By this way we face the security problems. So preventing one program from affecting the data and programs in the memory space of another user. Sometimes if the data of secure programs flows from the unsecure space, then this kind of buffer overflow problems can occur. So memory and address protection is important topic in operating system security. Managed by the memory management unit, there is MMU. It manages all these things, primarily performing the translation of virtual memory address to the physical memory address. Okay, so sometimes we can combine the physical address to a logical one addresses, so that to avoid the problem of overflow. There are often supported by hardware. There are some hardware techniques. We call it a fence. We can create some logical fence for it, or we can reallocate the specific page to another page to avoid the buffer overflow, or we can tag some architecture for specific programs, or we can segment, we can divide a specific memory page to a specific programs. And the last one is the paging. So paging is one of the basic technique, while the information is transferred from the hard drive to the RAM. Now we come to the very important topic that is called access control. Access control means which process or which service should be allowed and which process should be stopped. So protecting memory is a specific case of memory of more general problem of protecting objects, such as memory, okay, like shareable input output devices such as disks, seriable reusable IO devices, input output devices such as printers and tape drivers, shareable programs and sub processes. We have a networks and shareable data. So protecting objects are more complex than memory. So we have a different objects in a computer which has been used, like so as we discussed that we have objects like memory, IO, shareable programs and subprograms, network and shareable objects. Okay, so they say that memory protection is easier job, while the protection of the more objects of the objects which is related to the computer are a little bit harder. A little bit, they needs more attention and they needs more mechanism to be protected. So to protect a network is another area, to protect the data is another kind of area, and to protect the programs and subprograms, this is also needs expertise over there. These are all related to the operating system directly or some way indirectly. So access control means which process should be allowed and which process should not be allowed. Okay. There are three general goals for access control. Okay, what is the access control goals? Check every access. For example, in order to disallow revoked access, so you need to see every access for the printer or for the network. Okay, and then it is your choice whether to disallow or allow it. Okay, so you need to check every access whether it should be disallowed or not allowed. Enforce least privileges means by this way allow access to the smallest number of objects to perform a task. Means you give a least privileges to each an object. And the next one is verify acceptable usage, that restrict types of activity performed in an object. You can restrict your control to a specific object according to your own desire. So the first one is check all. With access, you just check the access to everyone. Second one, you give least access, and third one is verifiable access according to your needs and demands. Okay. Now we will this slide will be discussed in the next lecture. Okay, so stay tuned with us. Thank you.